Star Baby and I want to thank all of you so much for your support of the Better Waverly cardigan pattern that I released 2 weeks ago. Thank you all so much for picking it up. I am so proud of this pattern, and I'm so glad that so many of you are interested in making it. So before we get into this week's video, thank you all so much for picking up the Better Waverly. I am so grateful to all of you for being here, and want to thank you right at the start.
You know what? I'll just say this. The grocery store gonna get mad at me if I complain about the carts not being returned.
Wait, what?
Like if I come on the podcast and complain about something or talk about something,
Yeah.
am I supposed to talk about no people, places, or things while I'm here?
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you're having a really good day so far. If you're new here, my name's Taylor. I come to you from Baltimore City, Maryland, and here on my YouTube channel, I feature content that is generally focused on knitting and spinning. In this week's episode of what I call the Thread to Mend podcast, I intended to share with you all my finished Artus shawl. It is not every day that I finish a shawl or any object, and so I was really excited, but I left it at work. I left it 30 minutes away in an office where I do not intend to go until Tuesday. So I don't even have it, and that's very disappointing. And I haven't really been here online all that much this summer. Mostly I think because I don't want to just get online and complain. I don't want to get online and talk about the things that I've been consumed with lately, and it's all so dark and sad, and it's all so much that it's like I'd rather just protect you all, protect the space from all of that, but it has consumed me, and so I just leave my brand new things at work and forget the most exciting part of my weekend, which is record and upload and share with you all my generally weekly videos, which have been closer to monthly lately. But anyway, I've just been totally consumed by life. Things at home are amazing, fantastic, wonderful. I cannot get enough of being here. I love to be home. I love to hang out with Brian. I love to live my own life. But unfortunately, my parents are aging. My dad is not physically well, and my mother is an alcoholic. And so that's a lot. She's his caretaker, and she's not able to do that. So being 1,000 miles from them, they live in Florida, where I grew up, and I just can't suspend my entire life to pick up the pieces of everyone else's. So I feel like I'm in a constant state of defiance and protest, but really I'm just setting boundaries. Really I'm just choosing happiness and joy and sobriety. As a sober person who chooses to live a life full of curiosity and wonder and excitement and joy, I can't engage with my closest family members. I have one sister, I have two parents, they all live in Florida. They all struggle in one way or another with maladaptive coping mechanisms that have not gotten them to a state of comfort or ease in any possible way. And it is very hard to watch. And so I've just created as much distance between myself and them as I can in order to preserve whatever capacity of survival and potential to thrive I possibly can. So I have sort of opened myself up to engaging with phone calls every single day with my dad, because for the most part he is alone. My sister doesn't really visit, and my mom is consumed by her issues, and whatever they might be, it's one thing or another all of the time. I try to avoid her constant verbal abuse as much as I can, which I cannot. When I'm talking to him, she's in the background. She calls me all kinds of horrible things, and it is disturbing, to say the least. So that's what I've been up to lately. How about you? Just kidding. Sorry. I laugh because I know I'm not gonna cry. Like I just don't need to. I just want to just laugh and move on and be okay. I just want to be okay. So one thing that I do to be okay, I guess, is just stay busy. I have been somewhat busy casting on a new knitting project. I'm getting messages back from my friend Blair about Rhinebeck plans. I'm going to pause the video and find out what the update is. Hello again. I should have coordinated sooner. I don't know if our plans are going to work out this fall. If you're going to Rhinebeck, let me know. Convince me why I should. We typically, I think I've gone every year for many years. I don't know how long. I was reflecting on the fact that I do have many fleeces. I took a brief little B-roll video of all the fleeces I pulled out from my wool shelf and opened up on my dining room table. And so I have so much to spin and so much potential already. So maybe I'll just make it a staycation that weekend and spin my heart out. Who's to say? I do feel like Rhinebeck is all about the people, and that's one of the greatest things about Rhinebeck. And I, being as socially isolated as I am most of the time, I don't go through the Rhinebeck experience without feeling some state of overwhelm at some point. My favorite thing to do is to meet viewers and to have conversations with you all, and that is like the best part of the day. But it's like I don't know who you are until I talk with you, and I feel like I don't know anyone the entire time I'm there, unless it's like a very small group of people. If I don't go, it wouldn't be the worst thing. It would be a happy little trip. I love going to the Hudson Valley in the fall season. It's the most gorgeous time of year, and it's like the sights and the sounds and the smells that I like to take in too. So it's really just the overall experience. Plus, Jill Draper has the best yarns, and I love to shop her booth. Every year I pick up a skein or two, and there is a particular yarn that I knit into my Artus shawl, which I don't have to share, but this like lovely goldish, greenish, ambery color that I just love. I'm hoping she might have more of that. I would purchase. But anyway, this video is focusing on the patterns I intend to knit this fall, and it's generally just a roundup of things that I've already talked about briefly, and I'm going to overview all the things I'm working on. I did finally cast on, and I started knitting the very beginning to what will be a Homefront pullover. So it is just the tiniest bit of work that I started this one evening and set it down and haven't forgot about it. I thought about it quite a lot. I think in my previous video, I don't know if I even uploaded it. I might have. I did record a video last week. I didn't upload, so I forget what I've shared and what I haven't, but I had to knit 3 swatches to get the right gauge. I don't knit with 4-ply very often, but I think I started with a 3. I went down to a 2.5, and then I settled on a 2. I think this is the 2 swatch, so that I can tell them apart. With the very end, I'll tie 2 little knots. I wasn't sure how to tie 2.5 knots. The 3 is what the pattern calls for, but I'm gonna have to go down to a 2. And I think that I knit a neater fabric on 2s. You can see there's a little bit of rowing out where either my knit row or my purl row is a little bit looser than the rest. I might have just been like not paying attention to what I was doing quite as much, but here it's like a little bit tighter. I think it'll block out nicely as well. I did block these actually. I submerged them and wrung them out, squeezed them out a little bit, laid them flat, and so they have been blocked. I think with time that any unevenness will start to disappear, but I don't think that that would really go away there. So I'm knitting the Homefront by Sydney Crabaugh. I resubscribed to her Patreon because I couldn't find my PDF copy from long ago of the sizing chart, like where you take your measurements. This is a like knit your own adventure to the size you need type of pattern. It's more vintage in its structure and language than what I'm used to, which is row by row instructions. So it is like a lot for me to compute, but many people have done it before, so I have confidence that it's gonna work out. But I'm really excited to knit this yarn into a garment. I expect I'll have it to wear next spring. And then I also knit a swatch with this Brooklyn Tweed Peary yarn. There are knots in this tail that will tell me how many. Yes, there are 3 knots at the very end of this yarn. I used a size US 3 to knit the swatch. So this will be something one day, not right now. It's the perfect fall color. You'd think I'd prioritize it, but I'm not. Here's my swatches. I'm a proud swatcher. I believe in swatching. I think swatching is discipline. Swatching is life. I also switched up the baskets on my wall, and I finally measured all of the yardage for my hand spun. I have about, I think, 1,200 yards. And my goal is to knit this into a self-designed shawl pattern, something that I've been wanting for a really long time. It's going to be a bi-spine. I don't know if people call it that, but like 2 spines to the back with, you know, the kind of shape that starts at the middle center and then it expands like 8 stitches every other row type of vibe. With those dual spines. I just can't decide if I'm going to introduce cables or keep it plain. I think cables might be more interesting, but I also think that I might try to draft the pattern instructions specific to hand spun yarn so that the yardage is not a critical element, but then I might just keep it to myself. I don't know. Let me know what you think I should do. There are so many chores I want to get to today. I'm going to fold and put away this laundry. It's actually folded already. I just have to tuck it away. Make the bed, vacuum the floors. I'm gonna mop my floors and like clean the upholstery to my car. While I have the extension cord out, I think I'll probably cut some grass and maybe leaf blow a little bit, keep it super tidy. But I'm just cleaning today. I'm doing all the things I never feel like I have the time to do, and I'm gonna bask in the glory of a gorgeously clean house. A brief update on my chores. I rearranged some things. The areas are generally clean, and I put this blanket on our bed. It's still too hot for a wool blanket on the bed, but made the bed, put my gorgeous Gotland pelt into my chair in lieu of it being a cozy little blanket for the dog bed over here. I also meticulously cleaned this fan. I just got done. So I took the front cage off, brought it to the tub, sprayed it down aggressively with this disinfectant spray. And then I used the same spray to hand wipe the blades and the back cage. So I don't really do this every single year, but I try to do it every year. And we're coming towards the end of the season, so it's kind of annoying to have to walk around this fan, but we don't use the office space all that much, and it blows cool air from that window unit into the hall. We keep this door closed all the time because of the skylight. All the cool air would go through there, and then it effectively cools off the bedroom. I'm knitting this on size 2s for the, I should really know. I'm knitting the ribbing on 1s, I'm knitting the body on 2s. So that's that. It looks very small because it's very scrunched up, but it will be a no ease type of t-shirt sweater. And then of course I'm still knitting. I have not made much progress, but I'm like more than halfway done. I should really just knock this out. In fact, if I make this a priority now, it's possible that if I do go to Rhinebeck, this could be like a warm weather option in terms of wardrobe. I know Andrew Mowry's, this is Andrew Mowry's Vellichor, if you're not aware. I've been working on this for a very long time. But Andrew Mowry's pattern for this year is a colorwork worsted weight sweater. And living in Maryland, where it is quite hot most of the year, very humid, I have no intentions of ever putting a colorwork worsted weight sweater into my wardrobe ever again. I just don't wear them. I have one or two. Also, I mean, they are knit in like Icelandic wool, which is very insulating, more than like a worsted spun sweater would be, but it is just way more fabric than my body needs. Even in an air-conditioned building, it's just too much for me. I wish I lived in Portland, Maine. I wish I lived in anywhere in the Midwest, even. I don't know anything about the Midwest, but I would live there because I could probably get more wear out of all my knits. But I don't know, I just found a passion in a mid-Atlantic state where it's probably 90 degrees outside and I have no air conditioning. So every summer I struggle here on YouTube to talk about spinning and knitting, and I can't even enjoy the things that I make. So it's almost over. Next week it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be in the 50s at night, mid 60s throughout. I think the highs are in the mid 70s, so I cannot wait for today to end because it's the last day of heat for a short while. And I was just listening to Inga over on Knitting Traditions. I watched a recent video of hers and she said, "This is not a weather channel." And I just thought that was so funny because how often am I talking about the weather over here? Enough to be a weather channel at this point, I think. But anyway, still knitting on this. I might make this a priority now that I have it out because, good Lord, I am halfway done at the very least. I should possibly weigh the yarn I have left to knit it with because I'm on my last skein. Like, this better be enough. I'm sure that I've prepared myself to have enough. I just don't know. I might have to knit like neon sleeves at this point if there's not enough of that main color, but it is a full skein. I know I had less than 2 skeins. So I'm gonna make this a priority again because there's no reason for this to wait to be done until 2025. Like, this could be done sooner than later. I say that, but I forget how long it takes to knit a single round. Very soon, in a matter of just maybe one more repeat, I will be splitting for the front and the back, and at least one of those 2 sides is gonna knit up twice as fast as the full circumference. So, I mean, it will feel much faster. And then once that's done, it's like practically over with. So there's that. I might even like at least steam block this because I do feel like this is gonna grow a lot. If it grows in width over length, I don't know which direction it will grow, but it's gonna grow. So I'm not sure exactly how soon I should split for the sleeves. But another thing that you likely know is that I want my yoke to have a little bit more depth than the standard pattern is written. I just love a little extra space in my armpit. I think because I have broader shoulders, it kind of fills out the space up top, and so I always feel like I'm left with a little bit less space right under my arm. I might split for the front and the back a tiny bit sooner than the pattern could suggest. I don't know yet, but we will figure it out, and very soon I hope to have this finished. Later on today, I'm gonna block it. I might even put it on a longer cord. I'll just probably switch out my cord and work it onto one with a greater circumference, and then get a better vision of exactly how wide this garment will be, and just kind of take it from there before I split for the front and the back. So that's my plan. I will be knitting the Vellichor this fall, and I hope to have it done in if I go to Rhinebeck, I hope to have it done in like less than 2 months from now, closer to like 6 weeks. So I better set targets for myself. If I want it done in 6 weeks, I need to break up the general amount of space to knit and divide that up in like a weekly target, so that I can kind of wrap my head around what it's going to take to actually complete this challenge. I say challenge just because there's so much garter, and it's such a slow grower, this shirt. If you know, you know, all that texture takes quite a bit of time to work through. I'm not going to prioritize my Homefront ahead of any of my other projects, only because I wanted to get it started. I wanted to get in the game, but it is sort of a spring piece, and so I really kind of want to have this on the needles, ready to work through January, February, so I can start to wear it in March. I have a gorgeous shawl that I think will look perfect with this to wear that with. And then what I'll be working on during the football season, on Sundays mostly, but whenever I'm watching a game, is going to be the Riggies Cardigan by Gudrun Johnston. This pattern was published in her recent book that she put out along with Mary Jane Mucklestone, and I've talked about this a lot. I'm on the back panel, the first of 2, and then I think they are worked with some sort of, they're put together in pieces along the top shoulder seam, and I think there's a back seam, and then you work the sleeves, and then the big shawl sort of collar. I think there's a shawl collar. There's also pocket panels too. So I am 2 panels in, so I'm on my 3rd 7th, sort of, in a sense. So not quite half done with this, but this, I think I knit half of this in like 1 sitting, and I was barely focused on it. So it is a quick grower. It just is a lot of stitches because it's such a big piece, with those pockets and all of that. So I'm gonna say my Vellichor is gonna be my number 1 priority. My second will be the Riggies. And then of course, I thought I had it next to me, but it is in the other room. I'm gonna go run and grab it. I do intend to finish sooner than later my, what is this called? Chained Oblivion. This is a gorgeous pattern. I'm obsessed. I'm knitting it with one of the most rustic yarns I've ever bought. It is similar to a Icelandic wool type of feel, and it's like a DK weight. So it's a lighter weight, but it is as prickly and very warm. It'll be best for the coolest months of the year. And I could see myself knitting this again. I expect that I won't get a ton of wear out of this because of the particular type of yarn. It's a local yarn. It's from a place called Crooked Fence Farm, which is up near Moncton, I think, somewhere in that general area, north of where I work, just north of where I live. And it's a California red fiber. So they have a meat farm in addition to their organic vegetable farm. And so this is wool grown from their sheep, and they had it milled, I think, I forget exactly where, but I've finished the first sleeve. I'm still working on the last couple inches of the second sleeve. I just started really taking my time because I was thinking a lot about casting on the body. I do want to cast on the body sooner than later. I think I might first try to finish the Vellichor, then cast on the body, continue the Riggies, and then I have an epic long haul project plan I'm excited to show you next. I don't think I'm actually going to work on this in the fall because I, as you can see, have my work cut out for me. I'm not a fast producer any longer. I think I used to be much faster at knitting. Knitting had been my obsession. Knitting was something I did in my car at stop lights. Like I would stop and knit while sitting in my car. I don't do that anymore. I find it's too tempting and dangerous, so I don't do that. Nothing ever happened, but I'm just thinking, like, don't be stupid. Leave your knitting at home, or take it with you, but don't drive and knit. So I have a plan. I'm going to show it to you now. I'm going to run and grab it. You might recall I had been knitting a gorgeous shawl. I will one day knit with a different yarn. This is a shawl pattern. I'm forgetting the name of it. I will link to it below, but the pattern was designed and knit with a slinky, silky, probably yak blend of fibers that had tons of drape, a gorgeous sheen. And this is not that. This is a worsted spun fingering weight yarn. And I just was not obsessed with the production of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bind off. I'm just probably going to do a little bit of a garter, like inch of garter, and do something that will allow me to make this into like a bit of a kerchief, because that's about as much as I have done. Maybe I'll do a buttonhole or something. I don't know. But I would like to just have a little kerchief to wear so that this work doesn't go to waste, but I'm over it. I'll come back to the pattern later when I have an appropriate yarn. And I have gathered from my stash of yarns a ton of things. A ton of things. This is left over from my Artus shawls, my favorite, one of my favorite yarns. I will buy so much more of this from Jill Draper. It's my favorite. But this is a bunch of yarns from my stash. And my goal, do you see how like autumnal and just lovely all of these colors are together? I have a few like, that was my hook. I have a few like remnants. Most of this is Jamieson and Smith. I have a single skein of Jamieson's of Shetland, but a lot of this is Shetland yarn. I have a Harrisville Designs Shetland, which is not real Shetland wool, just that's what they call it. A couple remnants of Brooklyn tweed, and my two remaining, and another half skein down here of the Juniper Moon Patagonia Organic Merino. All of this is going to be worked into a version, my own version of, I think it's Amy Christoffers. It is a granny square cardigan pattern that is for free download. You can find it on Ravelry. I will link to it below. And I had saved that PDF into my phone's folder of files like forever ago, and I stumbled across it and I thought, this could be the greatest stash buster of all time. It is a worsted weight pattern, and you might not know, but I used to crochet before I ever knit. I mostly crocheted large blankets and afghans. I would crochet pillow covers and hats too. Ponchos, I've made quite a few ponchos. And my preference is to not make garments in worsted weight yarn ever, but particularly with crochet. It's just too heavy for me here. I like a lighter weight garment. And so I'm going to knit the same pattern with fingering weight yarn and technically the same hook with one extra round of crochet. I already crocheted a swatch of sorts. Like I said, I added one extra row or round. I don't know what you call it in crochet. I guess it's a round. And it came out to be the exact measurements, which is 5 inches corner to corner. So I did knit my swatch with one of these 2 skeins that I over dyed. They're a Pearl Soho yarn. It's that very popular, shucks, what's it called? It's like a linen wool blend. Everyone knits the half and half shawl out of this yarn. I forget what it's called, but I have like just these 2 remnant skeins, and they have a little bit of a different drape, but I don't have a lot of like dark neutrals to really amplify and provide a lot of contrast. So I'm going to incorporate these as well. They're also fingering weight. And I do want my squares to be kind of loud and chaotic. Like I want it to be a chaotic sort of piece. I might even make it a V-neck pullover. I might get more wear out of that, and I might enjoy the process of making it more if I just do a center, like if I just keep the center connected versus the whole shawl collar thing. I'm not sure if I want to do that. Also, if I'm short on the main color and I don't have enough to do like the full collar, might be better. I don't know. I think I have more than enough. It's just hard to gauge when you're changing the gauge. Like I did the math and I have more than enough yarn to make the piece, but I just don't want to play a game of yarn chicken this time around. This color will be the last row of all of my squares that will join square to square. I've never done that. Every time I've ever knit a granny square type of, I keep saying knit, every time I've ever crocheted a granny square type of project, I always like slip stitched them together. It was a little lazy. It never really looked great, but it was my preferred technique. And I'm excited to do something different. But I'm probably gonna like make every square and then assemble them all together once I have it like mapped out, because I'm OCD like that. I just don't want to leave it to chance to have 2 things together that aren't where I want them. So anyway, I am gonna do a Chiefs square. I've already decided I'm gonna do something very loud. I think this is not the right red. I have a red skein around here somewhere, but I'm gonna do some loud squares. I'm gonna do some solid squares. I hesitate to incorporate these Brooklyn tweed skeins because they are the tiniest bit heavier. Also this hand spun skein, they're a little bit heavier than the Jameson and Smith yarns, but they deliver like a color hue that I just don't have in any of the other yarns. Like it just provides a little bit more of that greeny dimension that I love. I feel like I'm not really doing my basket of yarns justice here. You can see that, you can't see. I'm gonna tip it over if I turn it over anymore, but anyway, I have so many yarns. I have so many yarns that are just taking up space in a drawer, and I thought I would love a scrappy project for all of these. It's not likely that I'm going to be knitting another big colorwork thing for a while. I know I had picked out a lot of this yarn to do other scrappy ideas, but I'm just thinking that a granny square moment could be a really nice sort of like football project. If I do finish my Riggies before the playoffs, I think that granny squares could be really fun to make while watching a game. And it's when I'm watching football that I seem to get the most knitting done. So there's that. That's my plan. And I wonder if you're interested in crocheting a cardigan along with me. It's going to be a learning process. I've crocheting is like riding a bike. You can pick it up and do it again without question. But I haven't joined squares, so that'll be new to me. And it's a lot of ends to weave in, but we'll get through it. I do weave in my ends as I go because I have a very particular process of weaving in ends that I think leaves a very seamless look. And I have a particular approach to granny squares that avoids the wonkiness of that beginning chain. I could elaborate on that further in another video. Let me know if you're interested in my crochet techniques, because I feel like I have mastered the granny square. I've knit many things, but nothing like a doily or anything too complicated. But I do feel like my squares, you can't really tell where the beginning is. Sometimes you have like this like skewed edge to where the beginning is. So I'm very happy with the results of my little swatch so far, which is mostly done in the minority of the type of yarn I'm working with, but we'll figure it out. It's gonna be fine. Very excited for this. I wonder if you want to join in. Let me know in a comment below. That could be fun. And this is gonna be a long-term project. This is gonna be a 2025 project. So yeah, I'm knitting in 2024, fall and winter, but I'll be crocheting in 2025, baby. That's what's happening. So that's it. That's all for this week's episode of the Thread to Mend podcast. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into this week's video, let me know below with we'll just use the yarn emoji, because maybe you're digging into your stash right now thinking I could make a scrappy project with some fingering weight yarns. And if you want to find me on social media, my name is Taylor E. Owen on Ravelry and Instagram. You can find me over on TikTok as Taylor Knits. Again, I want to thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and that you take care. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's garden tour. Can't remember the last time we've been out here together, but either a whole lot has changed or not so much. We have basil. We have living blueberry plants. Some of these beans are starting to grow up finally. And I finally have fruits on this tomato that I planted in July that I picked up on vacation. These are sun golds. I love sun golds. But this box has exploded. I'm trying to grow some greens from seed. I have bok choy, Swiss chard, and a couple Asian versions of spinach. They're like kind of spinach, but not spinach. They do better in, what is this? What is that? I think that's a black walnut. I think this is a black walnut that a squirrel is trying to hide. I'm gonna toss that in my neighbor's yard. Funny. Anyway, they won't care. I should probably like clip that out. Looks not so good. I just picked all the, oh my gosh, it's been a long day. I just picked all the jalapenos off my jalapeno plant. This butterfly bush has been putting out much smaller flowers, but I imagine it doesn't get quite the direct sunlight it once did, but it is growing up nice and big. I have a kitty in the window there. I just opened up the windows to get some fresh air in. It's a nice, cool, like 75 degrees maybe. Anyway, this box is slower to grow. It gets less sun, mostly because of my lilac bush. But my boxwood shrub is putting on tons of new growth. I wonder if it's supposed to be that very light green color, if that's normal, or if it's getting that thing where it needs some sort of supplement, chlorosis. I listen to Laura at Garden Answer talk about chlorosis a lot. I don't know anything about that, but these coleus have really been thriving this summer. They're all started from seed, so it's taken them quite a while to get as grown up as the others that I've propagated already. But I did pick up this pumpkin at Aldi. So cute. I'm afraid it's gonna fall off. All of my planter boxes in this area become cat beds, so the tarragon is getting smothered. But everything else is doing okay. I moved some oregano into this box when I planted it, and that is being smothered too in this cat bed. Earlier I was trying to get some of the cat hair off of these coleus, but they're pretty much there, embedded in the leaves. This one, do you see this? These leaves are kind of like very soft. Anyway, the peach tree is huge. It's a dwarf variety, but they get up to like 12 feet, I think, more or less. And one of my favorite things to do in the garden is to clean it up and put as much of it in the compost bin as I can. So I'm kind of looking forward to pruning my peach tree. Here she is from a bit of distance. You can see I have some long beans growing, and I just picked 3 of the largest ones off already because I didn't want them to get too big. The skins get a little, I don't know, barky? What do you call that? A little thick. They're better when they're about this size. Probably the best when they're about this size. But the raspberries, I wish my raspberries were not quite so tall and lanky. Do you see how like all of the lower leaves like die off? That's how they always look, like all of the time. And not sure what to do. I'm also kind of getting sick of the stick border. I just really have nowhere to put the sticks that are too big to shred, so I just collect them in the borders of my beds. They don't look so bad when the grass is nice and full, but the grass died, and I don't know, maybe I oversaturated it in those dead spots there. I was trying to water it. I might have blasted it too hard and shocked it. I don't know, but the grass is growing back in patches. I should probably trim it just the littlest bit at some point this weekend. But the blackberry is bouncing back. I was trying to move that blackberry out of that corner next to the bird bath and train it along this trellis here. I'm still gonna try to do that. I think that what I might do is attempt to propagate some of those blackberry canes over winter in like some 4-inch pots and see if I can get them to root, and then once they're kind of more robust, plant them outside along this trellis in the spring. So that's a thought. I'm still getting cucumbers. This cucumber's doing okay. Kind of just threw it on top, and it hasn't been happy with me since. I did prune back the fig tree. I shredded all my sticks, so this area is kind of like cleaned up. It just looks like a big old tarp. Anyway, it's funny, I have like one of the nicer backyards in our neighborhood on our block, but I also have like this mess. Like a relative, it's like, oh, just ignore that, and then, you know, I have everything else, but it's kind of what feeds the rest of the garden, so it all works out. But I don't know, I just, every fall, end of summer era, I want to undo everything I did and redo it right. That's how I'm feeling right now. Tomatoes, I don't think it was worth it, but I didn't know what else to put there. Didn't know how much sun it would get. Still not sure what to put there. Can't put a tree there because the power lines are like right above it. So we put trees about 5 feet over. And even that one is still like underneath these internet wires and Charlotte's electricity wire. But they are quite narrow in their canopies. They'll be fine. It's not an issue. This horseradish will probably never leave my garden. I don't attempt to dig it out aggressively. I just kind of let it be there, because what else would I put in that very shady spot underneath 2 trees? Not much. But it just feels a little chaotic. Like all of the sticks that I border my beds with are all kind of moved out of place, even though I spent way too much time putting them back. The feral cats use them as cat scratchers. So they're like their little toys that they move around here and there. That's it. I think that's all I have to share this week. But thanks for watching.